Yeah,
Okay.
whatever.
Proszę bardzo, tak.
I hope it's okay to go back to the core
Cinema.
visual aspects of the film, because Post Tenebras looks had a very interesting visual quality, and also much different from your previous works, with a square rather than panoramic framing and all these vignette, blur, distortions of all sorts. I was wondering if you could please tell us more on how did you come up with the idea to create this look in the film? Did you experiment a lot? Did you use some optical devices, or just added it digitally in post-production? And what impact did it have on the film, and so on?
Well, basically, well, the most important thing I would say is that you have to choose whatever suits the film according to the film. You know, recently, like, someone asked me why the square format. Well, it's not square, but 133 format. And I said because I like it, and he said like, oh, I've never been told that in school. You know, like that shouldn't be a reason. And I think it's the most important reason, of course. Basically because I like it for this. Basically because I like it. But also because it suits very well the orography, you know, the landscape of this film, because the mountains are very narrow and very vertical. So if I had used, let's say, like in Silent Light, CinemaScope, or even not such a wide format, but a wide format, I would have had to be very far away from everything if I wanted the mountains to be in the frame. So it's a matter of framing, basically, how whatever you want to frame, what will the dominant things will be in the frame, so you have to prepare a good frame for that. So at that moment I decided that I also wanted a lot of definition in the center of the frame, and as you probably know, to have the largest possible definition in 35, you have to use the square format, because that's the one that prints on the most of the negative surface. I also used the clearest lenses that you can find today, so I could have very strong definition in the center. But one of the things that is terrible about extreme definition is that nowadays, with video and all the other digital formats, definition is becoming, in my opinion, too harsh and too strong, and you can see more now with those lenses than with your actual eyes. And so therefore I don't like that look very much, but I liked some of that look. So I wanted that in the center and the rest to be extremely blurred. And we didn't use any digital stuff there. We used an optical device that basically is a lens that has been carved on the sides, so it has an angle, like, you know, those mirrors that have like double angles on the edges, like angles on the edges. So you see a double image. And I just decided that that was because that was intuitive, but very basically. But this sounds very basic, but in the end, is the most profound reason. It's just because I don't want to see a film like I can see live with my own eyes. So you start reinterpreting life, you know. And maybe I get the impression that maybe in some years most films will not be like you can see things with your own eyes. Photography and cinema, I think, will change a lot in that sense, like painting did. You know, at a certain point, painting was all about recreating reality as best as you could. Like in the middle of the 19th century, this got to a peak. And eventually, painters got fed up with that, and they realized painting was not about painting things as they look, but about something else, like reinterpreting the world through your own life or soul, whatever. So that's why Impressionism started, and then all the rest of the movements in painting that you know about.
Proszę, tak.
Actually, it's not really a question. I saw your movie for the second time today, and I just want to say that thank you for sharing. It was such a wonderful cinematic experience. I don't know how to even talk about your film, because it was so organic. It was so, you know, from the guts. I loved it so much. I loved the sense of loss, of melancholia, of fear, of this. I don't know what to say. I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much. And I think I'm going to watch your film at least 5 times. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I have to say, sorry, that we're not into the habit of watching films usually more than once.
We should.
Yes, because basically we think, because film is literature, and most books, I mean, people that read a lot like to reread certain books. It's like also another activity. But usually books you only read once. They are designed to be read once. Of course, you can read 5 times certain books. But cinema, in my opinion, like music, should be watched more than once. Again, this acquired taste thing we were talking about in the beginning. And that is a real proof of quality of a film, in my opinion. What happens...
Sorry.
These Polish sirens. No, what happens with subsequent approaches to a film? And sometimes it will happen to you that some film that really struck you the first time, you see it the second time and you see that it wasn't, that you were maybe in a too good a mood or maybe manipulated too much. And then other films that are good films get better and better with each visit. So yes, thank you for watching it more than once.
Hello. I have a question about wanting to know your opinion of films in 3D, and if you had ever thought about making one in 3D, and if you find any value in that now.
I can tell you, only once I watched one, and it was Werner Herzog's film on the caves in France. Have you seen it?
Yes, in this festival I've seen.
Oh, it's in the festival?
It was, yeah.
Oh, it was. Okay, and I have to say that I didn't like it very much, the experience. I was there watching it, and you know what thought came to my mind? Just that I was watching all these animals that are painted on the walls, and I was thinking, how long ago the visual art started and why, you know, why basically because these people wanted to know who they were, so they painted themselves to be seen from outside, I suppose. And I thought how ever since then it's always been about 2 dimensions. The visual arts, the great idea or the great power or even magic of the visual arts is that they happen in 2 dimensions. That's their power. And eventually with a painting and photography, of course, and cinema, the frame, which is, I mean, the most 2 important things in cinema are the amount of time you press on the button when you're shooting and the framing you choose. And I was thinking how there was no more framing because everything was there, and yes, I just thought this is not visual arts anymore. This is something else. This will be more like a circus or like the real experience. I've heard something that now they call 4D, which is, I don't know if you have it in Poland, but in Mexico it's already going on. It's like you go to see a movie and the seats move and they throw smells and then water in your eyes and things like this, and it gets hot and cold. So it's fine. I mean, but it's like going to the circus and seeing some tigers jump around. It's fine also. I don't have anything against circuses, but it's just not what cinema is, which is visual arts, I think, and sound now, and music. But it's not that kind of real life experience that you want to have, you know. Maybe also all this comes from this ever-growing absence of real contact between humans, that we're more and more into that. I'm sure that, I don't know, maybe in 2010, I don't know, 50 years, whenever, but the time will come when it will be like putting on some lenses, black lenses, lying around in your bed, in your room, and you will feel everything. And then probably even porn films will come to that, and people will just not want to leave their rooms. I don't know, but it's not cinema. Really not at all. I really didn't like it at all.
Chciałem zapytać o jedną rzecz. Tutaj Pan jest pytany o ostatni film, jakieś klucze interpretacyjne. Ja miałem takie wrażenie, że stawia Pan widza w takiej sytuacji, kiedy wchodzimy do świata, którego nie znamy. Jakby widzimy jego wyłącznie fragmenty, jakieś urywki zdań, bohaterów, którzy mają swoją historię, ale my jakby widzimy tylko fragmenty tej rzeczywistości, którą oczywiście możemy sobie gdzieś tam ułożyć w głowie w jakąś jedną całość. Chciałem zapytać, czy Pan się czuje taką osobą, która jest od początku do końca stwórcą tego świata? Czy Pan czuje się jako ktoś, kto ma nad tym światem kontrolę, kto właśnie wie dokładnie, co się tam dzieje, czy też jest bardziej, powiedzmy, na usługach rzeczywistości, którą Pan rejestruje kamerą?
The two things on two different levels. In one level, it is about, as you say, being only a funnel, if you want, to capture this reality. And I try to be always as loyal to it as I can. You know, a proof of that, for example, would be like the people I've chosen in a film like Battle in Heaven. I remember when I did it, and they're naked and all this, a lot of people in Mexico said things to me like, oh, this guy that likes to shoot monsters and then show them to us. And I was just thinking this was so cruel and so untrue. I was just being loyal to what I think reality is, you know. Most Mexicans are overweight and they are similar to these people, and I don't think they are anything less than Nicole Kidman and I don't know who else, you know. So I just wanted to be loyal to that reality. And I take very seriously that kind of thing. I really don't like it when, you know, you see a film and then they get to the village and the hero girl is the most beautiful one in the village and all this kind of thing, because life is not like that. Sometimes it is, but only sometimes. But in cinema it seems like it always is like that. So I really try to be loyal there. At another level, at the level of construction of what the film is, how things move on, how things are presented, there you could say that it sounds pretentious, but it's true in a way that I am the one who is making things work in a whole sphere that should be self-containing, everything within it. And there, of course, I do totally believe that cinema is the work of one man. It's not a collective work at all. It's because it's all a matter of responsibility, not a matter of how many people pull cables around or contribute, or not only pull cables, but contribute with their creativity and even their genius to you. But it's always the question of one view and one person who is responsible for the best and for the worst, and ethically responsible. So when you talk about the Sistine Chapel or whatever, it's about the parts that belong to him. It's about Michelangelo. Even though there were maybe 100 people helping him with the scaffoldings and preparing paints and maybe even sketching and things like that, it is him who was responsible. So I believe that's the way.
Ale czy w takim razie jest taka możliwość, że ten gotowy film jednak będzie mądrzejszy niż twórca, który go zrobił? Będzie, nie wiem, głębszy? Innymi słowy, czy może się tak zdarzyć, że jakby ktoś odkryje, zobaczy w tym filmie coś, o czym pani miał pojęcia, a co rzeczywiście gdzieś tam będzie w nim zawarte?
Totally, I totally think that way. I think the talent of a filmmaker in that case is to be capable and open-hearted to receive all those things through the funnel. That will, of course, will go much further than his own imagination. You know, very often you hear things like some director saying that the film is always worse than what the director had imagined because, you know, there's always limits and you cannot film everything you can imagine and this kind of thing. But for me, it's really the opposite. If you really pay attention to the people, if you let them come into the film, the people or the places, the atmosphere, the wind, whatever, the sounds, you let them come into the film. So I could never have thought of a certain wrinkle that someone has, or a light in his eye, or the color of his hair. You know, these are things that weren't made by me, but I only take. And this is also a stronger possibility. There's a stronger possibility of this happening when you shoot with real people in real places. If for you making a film is like making a theater act, or a theater or a theater play, a theater act, then of course it's very probable that you will be in a lesser degree because of what you imagine, because the theater is exactly that. It's all staging, and cinema is exactly the opposite.